And I believe we are live, if I'm reading this correctly. Good day, everybody. We're going to do reverse roles SE with Rom. Rom is
Hey everyone.
there so you can see him. Good. Rom is one of the very talented and useful people over on the Street Epistemology Discord. These days, I have joined with him, and we're doing well, it's 11 o'clock Pacific time for me, but we can translate that into all sorts of other time zones later. But we do a once a week practice for especially newbies coming in. Ron, would you like to say anything about yourself? Describe yourself. Tell us what's going on.
Sure. Well, it's 9 p.m. here in Moscow. I'm a host of a Russian FC community, and I'm happy to be more engaged in the Street Epistemology International movement, and happy to be here with your invitation, Dali.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so the plan was you wanted to investigate my claims, so I came up with 3 of them, and I haven't told you about them yet, and you can choose.
Yes, I think we should tell people in advance about how we're gonna do it, because
yes, please.
we're not gonna do it in the usual way. So what we've agreed to do with Dali here is that we're gonna be conducting a dialogue, but on top of that, I will be an epistemologist, and on top of just asking the usual questions and saying the usual things an epistemologist says, I will be saying out loud my thought process.
Mm-hmm.
So
oh yeah. You wanted to. So anytime you are saying out loud, and I figured that out, I'm going to ignore that as if I didn't hear it at all.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna be saying for your convenience the word question Dali before I ask you an actual question which you are supposed to respond. And before that, I'm gonna be.
I'm gonna be blissfully unaware of everything else you say. That'll be fine.
Yeah, sure. But I want to give out a disclaimer to everybody watching at home. So do not talk like we're gonna be talking today.
Right. This is not a demonstration. This is like playing and the narrator role. Sure.
Only in educational purposes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. For clarity, I'm not steelmanning these claims. These are claims from my own honest experience.
Great.
Okay. Good.
Sure.
So I have 3 claims, and you get to choose. Riding a bicycle on public roads is a net health detriment. Okay. The next, if we are not in a simulation, the probability is much greater that man created God than that God created man. Okay. And then the third one is college education is a bad investment on average in the US for careers that do not require the degree to qualify.
All right.
So those are my 3 claims. You can choose from amongst them and do whichever you like. And I am now the passive responder.
Yeah. Well, all of them are interesting. I'd say I'm pretty acquainted and interested in the educational system, not in the US, unfortunately, but still. So I think I'll go with the third one.
Okay, college education is a bad investment on average for careers that don't require the degree to qualify. I'm going to type up here that claim because you can't reach. You just can't. Okay. That'll be faster when I have an assistant doing it.
Will you?
Okay.
All right.
Hopefully I spelled all the words right. I can't see that screen. So if it's silly, then, blame me. Go ahead. Oh, good. Thanks.
Okay. So should I start?
Sure.
All right. So what I heard is college education is a bad investment for professions which do not do not ask for a degree, right?
Yes.
All right, so I'll just say out my thoughts initially. What I've heard is something is bad, and when I'm hearing those estimations like good or bad or nice, not nice, etc., what I want to distinguish between is between a person's emotional response and something which has to do with consequences. So
Hmm.
something which is testable. So those are two
Hmm.
different things because pretty often people are just saying what they feel, and
Hmm.
sometimes people even say it in a way that you could mistake with some things about the world, some claims about the world. But we should distinguish between those guys. So uh, first things first, I want to distinguish between this and that. And so my question for you, Dali, is uh, do you maybe propose something should be done about it?
Oh, sure, sure. I think that it should be disseminated amongst people. Should be the information that would lead us to this conclusion should be disseminated to people so that they can recognize and not plan that college is a requirement and is necessarily a good idea depending on their career path, so that people are better informed. I would like colleges to eh, maybe even be required to show people the actual statistics about their investment in college when they are trying to get them to sign up for large student loans and things like that. Um, so I would like to see, I don't know, maybe it's a little like a truth in advertising thing. It's a disclosure, it's an education of people so that they can make better choices. That's what I'd like to see happen.
All right, so I'll just repeat what I've heard so far. You want to disclose this information. You want to basically tell people
Yeah.
that it is what you think it is, and you think
Hmm.
it's gonna have a beneficial effect ultimately, right?
Yeah, that I think the beneficial effect is that people would have uh, more satisfaction over their life as well as greater earning power, kind of bottom line. And I don't think the difference is huge. It might be the difference of about 1 or 2 years earnings over their lifetime in the one way or the other. But an investment that has a negative return is obviously something to warn people about.
All right. So my thoughts from what I've heard are, I'm sorry, uh, so that it's mostly consequential for Dali, and
Yes, it's a
he thinks
utilitarian
that
argument. Hmm.
yeah, utilitarian argument basically. So Dali proposes that we spread this information,
Hmm.
and it will benefit in people earning more. What I've heard so far. So basically, maybe it will improve economy somehow, or maybe it just
Hmm.
improves people's personal budgets, which is
Yeah,
interrelated.
yeah.
I would suppose, but yeah, so it's
Yeah,
pretty consequential and
maybe if
not.
people earn more, that seems like it's better for the economy, though I'm not sure that the net effect of my suggestion is actually better for the economy. I could give reasons why it might actually be worse at the national level.
Oh, all right. So then tell me, what are you interested
I'm
in?
leaning, in the favor of the individual and not the favor of the social
All right,
the social group in this
all
case.
right.
I want the individual to make a selfish choice. And if the society needs to benefit, they need to adjust the system in order that the selfish choice is the one that they want the best, align their goals.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
And as we are unpacking your belief right now, I'm more
Hmm.
interested in what you find important here. So
Hmm.
you're saying that you're more interested in the individuals' budgets and earnings.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna be talking about then.
Okay.
We'll
Well,
just
no,
leave
and,
aside
and
the
I,
whole economy.
I'm, I want to balance it against society. I'm just telling you, I have a criteria here, and that's just a personal thing, a personal
Yeah,
choice.
sure.
I hold individuals more than I hold the society, but only a little.
All right. All right. So basically, what I've heard is that Dali thinks that if we spread this information and if uh, probably less people are eager to go to college just for the sake of it, they will benefit for themselves. So
Mhm.
we have an action we can actually perform, and we have a consequence of this action which Dali supposes we will get. So that's a pretty good claim and totally fine for epistemological unpacking. So my question for you, Dali, is how confident are you that this is actually the case, and that people will benefit from this information, and people will, in general, of course, benefit from not going to college just for the sake of it?
Okay, so I heard three possible confidences. The first and the last, I can both say are about sigma 2. That's for me about 95%. I expect to be wrong once in about 20, given the level of data that I have. And then the one of whether it would be beneficial to people to have the information. Yeah, I would say if it were the case that my 95 is correct, that's probably at around sigma 3 or 4 that it would be beneficial to people to have the information. And that would be like I'm wrong once in, say, 300 to thousands, something like that.
Oh,
So
I didn't get the last one. 300?
sigma
What did
3
you
sigma 3 is 1 in 370 or something, but I don't mean to, I'm speaking in very round numbers. And then sigma 4 is what, 1 in 15,000, something like that.
yeah.
This is
Okay,
like standard deviations from the norm.
yeah, I didn't catch the
And
word
I'm speaking in
sigma.
statistical terms, and it's just how I rank
Sure,
my
sure.
own belief systems in my own head. And so
Totally
when I
fine.
translate it into a 100, so many of them are 99.9 something, but I see a significant difference. Anyway, go ahead.
All right. So we've got the claim, we've got the confidence roughly,
Yep.
and roughly is what we want to get, because those small incremental differences don't really matter. We want to get
Right.
just the whole idea of if a person is strongly believing what he's saying, or if he's pretty doubtful. It's all fine. So just an intuition. On the level of intuition, we want to get this confidence.
Hmm.
So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna try to find out the reasons for this belief, because Dali has already mentioned statistics. So I would guess that it's one of the main reasons he has, but I want to
Hmm.
find out more if possible. So my question for you,
Hmm.
Dali, is what would you say is the best reason you think that that's the case?
My best reason is seeing a series of studies and meta studies with, I don't remember the N, but it was pretty significant because they were judging across the entire college populations across a lot of colleges over several years. So the N was significant and powerful, and tracking the time it took for them to go through and the cost and the delayed earnings during that time. So the cost of college was living expenses, tuition, and delayed earnings, compared to their initial salaries and then projected over their working span. And they were able to come up with that in this specific case where a career did not require the diploma, there were only a very few cases where the degree actually helped their lifetime earning power, and 95 or so percent of the cases that they were able to show and test showed decreased lifetime earning power. So that study convinced me of the sigma 2, and meta study, and it was a larger thing than one study.
All right. So you were talking about one study right now.
Mm-hmm.
Did I get it correct? So have you
One
been
meta
looking?
study, so it was several
Oh,
studies
it
put
was a
together
meta
into it.
study. Yeah.
It was a
All
large
right.
meta study, yes. Uh-huh.
Then yeah, meta study is a lot of studies at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's good. What I've heard is, and these are my thoughts, just
Mm-hmm.
Dali is uh, talking about the study which examined the earnings, compared the earnings of people who went to college versus people who didn't go to college. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's a meta study, so it's probably fine. But of course, we can or could examine the reliability of this particular study or where he has found it. But another thing I'm thinking about is, are there any other consequences? Oh, hi, Kitty. Hello. So what I'm thinking is, could there be any other possible consequences which are important to DALI probably and to people besides the difference between earnings? So
Okay, so
because
imagine that we found out that having a degree really, really helped you attract a higher quality mate. So there was some really meaningful life effect that we hold from. Oh, I see. Thank you. I shouldn't touch. I'm moving the camera. Okay, a significant life effect that's not part of the bottom line that the study would look at. That would be a big improvement to somebody's life if they got a degree in spite of the negative financial concern. That would definitely say, we should pay better attention. Now, this is likely just something that we've chosen in society, and if society understood that not college was sometimes the best economic choice, then maybe it would lose that cachet. Maybe it would lose that effect. Because it's an effective status that we're just understanding in our social understanding, something like that. So,
all right.
I guess that was a little uncertain, but then I'm sort of qualifying it and backing it. That maybe we should address it through education. I don't know.
Sure. So again, I'll try to understand what I've heard. I think that you are interested in not only the difference between earnings, but in other possible important consequences. So if you are to know something else which is important and which is in effect here, that can vastly influence your confidence in that belief. Did I get it correct, right? So
Yes.
all right. So that's basically a lot. That says basically a lot about Dali's epistemology already. When you're talking to a person like Dali, the dialogue can be quite short, and that's totally fine. But we're not just finished yet. Just to conclude, I think I need to first of all get to know more for myself, because Dali has mentioned meta study. I may want to look at it as well. And
I'd have to research that. I learned this over 10 years ago, and I don't remember the source specifically. So I'd have to research it, look it back up.
All right. Then does it imply that you have only looked this information up only 10 years ago, and it was one meta study, and you haven't updated your belief since then?
I have updated. I have lesser reasons that reinforce, like lectures from Steven Pinker and several other people who I think are probably adequate authorities in the field to speak on the subject, that have reinforced the belief, but they haven't raised my belief above the study that I saw, because I would only, I might only grant one sigma to one expert saying so in public. I'm not going to just accumulate a whole bunch of 1 sigmas to try to get to 3 sigma or something. That's not going to work.
Yeah, I'm just going to step aside for a second and tell our audience that we have long abandoned our initially agreed format of this difficult interaction, but it's totally fine. Yeah, it's totally fine. So you're a well thought interlocutor enough so you're also interested in both my thoughts and my questions, so not a problem at all. All right, so you have heard Steven Pinker and maybe some other people you respect,
yes,
say something about it, but do you remember what exactly did they say?
Oh, I
the
think it was
same
something
thing?
very much along the lines that college for many people is not a good investment. It's a negative investment. It doesn't pay off in the long run. I mean, they're just directly addressing the point and reiterating it.
All
And
right.
at this point, I haven't found a countering argument to the thing that is based with anything with greater traction. That's a terrible term. With a greater epistemological value that would tear down my idea. If somebody just says, "Well, it's always a good thing. It's been a good thing for me," that's not good enough. You know, I need to see. I need to see something that I can't just tell is from pufferized opinion. Somebody speaking
So
hyperbolically.
now I'm almost ready to conclude the dialogue
Yes, please.
because basically I've heard what I love to hear actually
Mm-hmm.
from interlocutors when Dali has specifically told us what he believes, what are the consequences of those particular actions which he suggests, and also that he is relying on studies and scientists, and also, which is very important in itself, that he's willing to revise his belief
Mm-hmm.
if or when the counter evidence comes to his attention.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically what I think any epistemologist loves to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
good.
yeah,
So go
I
ahead.
think I can just thank you for the talk, and
Thank you.
if
I enjoyed the talk.
if you come again to find this meta-analysis, you can just send it to me because I'll also be interested in
Yes,
looking
thank
into
you.
it.
If I come across it in my research, I will remember to publicize it. Okay. Let's see. Would you like to open the floor to the audience? Oh, actually, let
Sure.
me ask: Is there been any uh, text chat feedback that we should address before we open it up to everybody? And at this point, we can probably unmute everybody, and I forget exactly what those steps are.
There is one question, which
Yes.
was about the topic you were talking about. Isn't that selected topic tautology? Like, if you will be overqualified for your job, then overqualification was a waste of time and money. But considering you don't know in advance what job you will get, I don't see it
Mm-hmm.
as valid reasoning. That is by
Ah,
3xk.
okay. Not valid reasoning because if you don't know what job you're going to get, hmm, if some of those jobs require the degree, like doctor, lawyer, many professionals, uh, and then there's no comparison. It's not whether it's a good investment or not. It's whether you want to go into that career. Uh, and the studies in question all ended up with people who got degrees that, for example, were not those that are required for any particular career, or ended up in a career where their degree didn't fit. Um, maybe somebody gets a degree in English Lit and they're qualified to teach something, and then they end up working as a manager at Home Depot. And then, well, I think at that point you would say for that person it was a poor investment. But then we also want to look at the risk profile of whether they would have gotten into their career that fit their degree, and we want to allow that proportion of risk to make the investment positive. Okay, I'm just talking on a lot of detail. I hope I addressed the question. I'd like to open it up to the floor. Does anybody have any questions for me? Feedback on the Elenchus for either I or Rom? Further questions along this avenue? And can everybody who wants to speak can?
Yeah, let's just hear anything from anyone to know that they can speak.
Yes. I don't know if they
Doesn't
can
seem
or
like it.
not. Huh. Okay. Well, and nobody's typing madly as far as I can tell in the And nice, cordial convo. Good job. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that. Let's see. Okay, well, if there are no further questions, Rom, do you have any other thing you'd like to do? We have about 30 minutes that we can go, and we can be done. My goal is to have these live streams go from 30 minutes to an hour, 95% of the time.
Well, I'm ready for another round if you are, but
Great,
we
sure.
can.
Would you like me to bring up one of those other claims and continue with me being interlocutor?
Well, I'm actually ready to be an epistemologist or an interlocutor. So,
Okay.
do you have any preferences?
I would love to hear a claim of yours. I'm betting that we're going to fall through like a pachinko ball, and I'm going to end in 5 minutes, which is just fine.
Well, maybe. All right, let me think. Do you want something to Steelman, or do you want some of my personal
Surprise
claims,
me.
or do you care? Surprise you. All
Surprise
right.
you. So for everybody in the audience, please be aware that he may not believe this position, and he may believe this position. And it's
I
not
like
even
that.
important for us to figure that out. Let's
I
see
like
if we
that.
can act in that unknown.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right. Let me tell you this. I would like more people to become vegans. So to avoid using animal products, most of all, what's it called? Factory farming. Yeah, am I saying it correctly? Yeah.
Yes. So factory farming is bad. More people should become vegan to reduce the factory farming that is the bad thing.
Yeah.
And among other reasons, but just given one of those. Okay. And you would like it. So hey, as a definitional claim, hey, you would like it. I believe you. I have no reason to doubt that. Okay, well that's not satisfying to anybody. So how about if I switch it from you would like it to it would make a change that is positive in the world that you could measure? Do you predict that it would make a positive change in the world?
Sure.
And what goal would that positive
I
change
wasn't
be?
intending making it too easy for you. So you
Good.
ask all the questions. I won't answer them
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah. It make me drag it out of you. It's fine. So, what would be your prediction about the positive claim, the thing that would change in the world that would be better if more people became vegan?
Yeah. Well, I think a couple of things. First of all, is the reduction of the overall suffering of living and feeling beings, and the second is the effect on the ecological system, and
Okay.
also probably economical aspect is
Okay, so
kind
there's
of
three
important.
reasons.
Yeah,
Reduction
let's
of
say three.
suffering, economy, and ecology.
Yes. Let's say
so. Okay. Okay. So I hear those three reasons. I hear those three goals that would be served, and therefore there would be an economic benefit. What would be the economic benefit? Who wins? Who loses?
Well, I've just read some studies or some experts' opinion about how they are spending more money to grow 1 calorie or 1 kilogram
okay.
or one whatever
Sure.
of animal products versus plant-based products.
Right, the multiplier for each animal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So it takes more water, more transportation, basically more resources.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so it would cost less to feed us if we went vegan. And so we would each have an economic benefit of reduced cost.
Yeah.
Okay. so there's an economic, there's a suffering question. If more people became vegan, to what degree could we measurably show that suffering is reduced? Would that be just a quantifiable thing of if there are only half as many animals in factory farms, that's only half as much suffering caused by factory farms?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's very actually a pretty difficult one because I don't know if we have any reliable method of measuring suffering per se.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess we can say something about it. So basically, I'm thinking in terms of comparing two worlds with each other or two situations with each other. Like, for example, if you see a person is like kicking a cat, so
Mm-hmm.
you would imagine it probably increases the suffering versus him not kicking the cat. Although
Yes.
there are it may not be so obvious. So I'm thinking in kind of those terms. So a lot of animals, they usually don't live a good life, especially
Mm-hmm.
in factory farming, and they suffer a mm, basically they suffer during lifetime, and they are
Mm-hmm.
killed prematurely. That stuff.
Okay. They're a slave and not for long enough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, yeah. So that was the suffering, then the economic, and then the ecological. I'm betting that that is about how much farmland is used, and if we could use less farmland to feed all of our people, that would be better for the rest of the land. Things like that. Yes.
Farmland is one thing. Another thing is the contamination of fresh waters. And
Mm-hmm.
another
Mm-hmm.
thing is greenhouse effect.
Okay.
So
So,
it affects greenhouse effect
mhm.
pretty severely.
Is that methanogenic? They're cow farts.
What?
The greenhouse effect is the greenhouse primarily because of belches and farts and methane from the animals, or is it from the CO2 that we burn in the energy of processing and making everything in the feed, and then they're processing and
Great
so on?
question. Actually, I think from what I've heard, and again, I'm not relying on my personal opinion here.
Mhm.
I've just read some experts on this.
Sure.
So what I've understood is, first of all, it's methane from animals themselves, mostly cows, and second of all, it's CO2 from people burning the resources for like transport from transportation to make
Okay.
this whole thing happen.
Okay. So what kind of data sources have you used to come to these conclusions? Well, okay, the suffering, that's not really a data source. That's, I guess the data source is factory farms are, and we understand what it is, and we project that that's suffering, and that's enough, right? That's enough to define that they're suffering there? Or do you have other data sources that help describe that?
Well, you're talking only about the aspect of suffering right now, right?
Right. You essentially gave me three areas, and so I'm looking for source information
Or
for
all
all
three
three
of
of
them?
these. And
Okay.
I'm wanting to say this first one is almost definitional, so maybe it isn't even a question of measurement, and I should only be thinking about measuring the other two.
Well, yes, but not quite, because
Okay.
even that is not so obvious because there are other people among experts as well who are saying things like, wait, if when we grow plant-based food, first of all, we use things like herbicides or pesticides or some chemicals which actually kill the wildlife that could or did inhabit this territory. So we are actually murdering animals anyway,
Sure. Yeah.
and maybe even more than we would have done otherwise. Well, so
Mm.
yeah, even that is not too obvious.
Yeah, but in your situation, we would use less farmland, not more. That's one of the predictions, is that because we would be feeding the food directly to people, we don't need as much food.
Well, I'm not sure about the amount of farmlands, but I think we should just look at the amount of animals suffering,
Hmm.
and also at the animals themselves, meaning that not all animals are of the same importance for us.
Right. That was
For
going to be my next question. So yeast, I can like go for trillions of yeast to make my beer, and we don't care, right?
yes, yeah,
But
exactly.
a sheep or a pig or a cow is close enough to something that I can see like human that I should have empathy for it and hold its rights far above single-celled
Yes,
organism, insects.
yes. Intellect-wise, cows, pigs are more like cats and dogs. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I love cats and dogs, so I can empathize with that. Okay, so let's
And
see. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah. Did you want me to answer about the
Yes, please.
economical? So
Yeah, yeah.
that's more easy, I guess, because it's pretty measurable, more easily measurable at least. So I've
Hmm.
just looked it up in the internet, and I found, first of all, a couple of United Nations reports from I don't remember the exact dates, like 2005 or 2010. One of them was it was wait, what was the name of it? No, I don't remember the name. So basically, it was a couple of reports which were saying about the damaging effect on the ecological system of factor farming, and they were citing pretty lot of studies. And yeah, about the economy as well. I've just tried to find the information, both confirming and falsifying all this, and from where I am right now, it tends to uh, tell us that it's probably worse than well, probably bad than
Okay.
good. Yeah.
Okay, so that's economic, and I think you might have also covered ecological. So I hear your sources and reasons for this. I didn't ask your confidence, but I can probably still ask, do you think your confidence is proportionate to your sources, to the quality of your source of data? The quality of your
Yes,
evidence, I guess. Yeah.
I think
Okay.
it
Very good.
should be pretty proportional, because otherwise, what should I rely on if not on evidence?
Good. Good.
Um,
So
yeah.
did review of the evidence today make any shift in your confidence? Did you review your stuff and say, wow, I think I'm actually more sure about this? Did it not change? Or, maybe I was initially more certain than I should have been.
What
Did
do
you
you
have
mean
any
by
shift in this regard?
initially? What initially is when?
Like like when you made the claim, you might have had a confidence in mind. I specifically didn't ask just to demonstrate the difference.
So you mean initially in the beginning of our conversation right now, right?
Visalinkus, yes, when you made the claim, that would be like
All
the
right,
initial
yes.
the first time I could have asked about a confidence is when I got the claim handle. And then
All
compared
right.
to now, has the review of the information shifted you at all, do you think?
Yeah, well, I don't think how it could have shifted, because we've only reviewed what I know, and I don't think we have
Mm-hmm.
reviewed a lot of things concerning the reliability of the methods or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. So yeah, it has not shifted, at least yet.
Doesn't shift you. Okay, very good.
Yeah.
So hypothetically, imagine something that you learned tomorrow that would increase your confidence. Maybe cut half the distance between where you are right now and certainty. This doesn't have to be
Uh,
a true thing, obviously.
yeah. So the question is, what would that evidence? What could that evidence be?
Yeah, what would be some evidence that would raise your confidence? Hypothetical evidence.
Well, yeah, it could be a hypothetical meta-analysis that says that it's actually detrimental for ecology and or
Okay.
economy to go all plant-based food. So we need both
Okay.
plant-based food and animal-based food. We cannot live without one of them. That
Is
would
that what the study would say?
significantly.
That's what the study
Yes,
would say, is
some,
that we need both? That
some
sounds like a hypothetical diffuser, something that should reduce your confidence. Is that correct?
yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I'd ask for
Were
an
you asking
increaser,
about
but you
the
gave me a
other?
diffuser, which is good thinking,
Yeah.
and that would be my next question. Just for the audience, I am kind of in the minority. Then I'll ask for an increaser before I ask for the diffuser, which is my own idiosyncrasy, and so I throw people off. That's fine. So, what would be a study diffuser? Is a hypothetical that would reduce your confidence, as opposed to like an hypothetical increaser. Diffuser's one of those jargon terms in street epistemology. I will produce a video on jargon terms. Anyway,
So basically, I've just told you what would reduce my confidence, right?
yes.
And now you want to hear what would increase my confidence.
Yes.
Well, I guess the same thing if there would be less controversy in the scientific circle among specialists on that question, and they would all tend to agree that there is a consensus that actually plant-based food and its production is just better for most of the important reasons.
Very good.
That would improve my confidence.
Very good. Very good. So here's where I give you feedback. The kind of reasons that you gave are the kinds that would very much convince me and compel me. They fall right in line with my own epistemology. So we're going to agree on how to choose a source, choose an authority to come to a conclusion. So 2 thumbs up. What do I know? You're in my epistemology agree. I don't find any fallacy in your argument. Your engagement with the hypotheticals is right on, and you're thinking about it ahead of me. So I think your critical thinking in this area is 2 thumbs up. Thank you. Thank you for the claim.
Yeah,
I
thank
enjoyed
you.
the conversation.
Same here, Dali. Always a pleasure.
Anybody who wants, who likes to unmute and give feedback, we open this to the room, and you can throw in video if you like. Let's see.
We have a couple of questions from the chat.
Oh yes, please.
How, and this is a question for Rom, I think. How is the intellect level of cows, cats, and pigs related to suffering and veganism?
Yeah, good question. So how can we start thinking about suffering is actually, well, where does it come from? Suffering comes probably from our brains, from our intellect, because we have to live through it. We have to not only feel it, but realize the pain and suffer from it. So where I'm at right now, or where my still Manning is, who knows, is that the more intellectual species are, the more they are capable of suffering. So basically, the more advanced their nervous system and their brains are, the more they can suffer. Well, I guess it is possible that we're mistaken about it, but I don't know the alternative way to think about it. So if you do, just let me know.
Okay, we have one more question from Astrocar. Your claim is to become vegan because of the process of factory farming seems to be vastly negative. One could leave Catholicism and move to be a Protestant church because they don't know how other religions, because they don't know other religions or atheism. Should people become vegan because you don't like any other alternatives? Would synthetic meat be a reasonable solution to all 3 of your categories, or something else?
Well, I'm not sure I understood the first part of the question about the. I didn't get the analogy between Catholic and Protestant church.
May I try a summary?
Yeah.
Your argument seemed to be based on the negativity of factory farming. Would you consider the alternative of lab-grown meat?
Yeah. So that was the last part which I did get. So yes, the answer is of course, synthetic meat is totally vegan, and I think vegans are all for it because it doesn't have to do anything with factory farming and animal suffering and detrimental effects on ecology and so on. So yeah, of course. So I don't know if you call this an alternative to veganism. I'm not sure.
I think you're defining it in terms of source rather than. Some people say, well, it's meat, so it's always going to be meat, even if it's grown in the labs. That can't be vegan, and they're just arguing about the definition. And you're saying, for your goals, the definition of vegan that includes lab-grown meat is perfectly good.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so let me remind us that we are playing Steelman or Real. Does anybody have any opinions? And Rom, don't spill the beans until they've had a chance to ask and talk. Does anybody have any opinions as to whether you believe Rom does hold this opinion, or is Steelmanning an opinion?
I think he's believes it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Reed says real 95%. So Reed has 2 sigma confidence that this is not a Steelman position. Several people are typing. That's what Discord tells me, several people.
Good.
Gigi says, I think he believes it. There are at least 3 more people still typing, so I'm not going to step on listening them and hearing them. I believe, okay, Astrokar says, I believe he believes it 95%. I agree, but practice is harder. Does he practice it? 50-50. Okay, so Astrokar is saying that you might not be vegan. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Two more people still are typing, so we won't rush them. We want people to have all the time they want to be heard out.
Sorry, I'll refine my answer. I believe
Go ahead.
he believes it and he practices it.
Okay. That was Astrokar saying he thinks you believe it and he thinks you practice it.
No, that's the real Redding.
Sorry,
Yeah,
that was the real Redding. My bad. I misheard your voice. It seems that there's more than 8 people, so I can't see you all on the list. Threeks says, what extreme example from Douglas Adams? A Meghlian major cow with the ability to talk about and shoot himself, tell Arthur not to worry. He says it will be very humane, be a valid alternative to your position. Are you familiar with the story of the restaurant at the end of the universe where they've grown a cow that wants to be eaten?
I've heard about it, but I'm not too familiar with it. So yeah, basically there could be a lot of hypothetical scenarios where, like, some animals just don't have brains, or you're on an island with nothing but animal food or something like that. So yeah, I tend to think that it's just, again, in comparison to alternatives. So if you don't have any choice, for example, I believe that human lives are even more important than animal lives because we are smarter, our brains are better. So, but if we have a choice, then we should try making it as ethical as it can get. Of course, considering the difficulty of actually implementing the practice. So of course, the difficulty could be so high for you that you don't actually do it. That is possible. Depending on where you live, depending on a lot of things.
Yes, indeed. Cat of Blades writes, I think he is sufficiently researched to argue the topic. My confidence of his believing it personally isn't as high, maybe 70% that he holds the belief personally and it affects his life. Drake says, I think he believes it 85%, but has not studied it as well as is possible. Okay, strictly speaking, nobody can have ever studied it as well as is possible. That's not possible for one person. But I think colloquially we mean maybe that to speak of it publicly, you could learn more, and that would be helpful. Maybe that's what the comment was saying. Okay, thank you all for your feedback on this. I've really appreciated you all coming to this. Rom, do you have anything more before I close out the stream? I'm sorry, I didn't ask. I didn't ask you the question. What am I thinking? You have to now reveal. Now we have what is in fact your real position on this question.
Yeah, so basically everybody was right, of course, and I do hold this belief. And if you think that I haven't researched it well enough, and I actually haven't updated it recently, I'd be very happy to learn more and possibly just correct it or even change it altogether. So yeah, feel free to. I'm even asking you if you know something that that says strictly against my view, or just any new studies which you deem significant. Please share them with me. I'd be very happy.
I'm sorry. Did you say you believe it? Do you practice it?
Yeah, I do practice it. Yeah.
Yay, stereotypes hold up.
Yeah.
Sure.
May I ask a question? I just wanted a kind of just a refining. So I've actually been doing I just found two amazing articles about the moral status of animals, and I just wanted to get Rom's opinion, or what type of, like, what stance he holds. Is that okay?
Okay with me.
Okay,
if DALI allows us to do it in terms of time.
Yeah, so I'm reading the different moral arguments for veganism, and they all have fancy names: absolutist, utilitarian, so on and so on. And I think the most prominent one that I run into is the utilitarian viewpoint of the morals, the moral consideration when it comes to animals. And I was actually quite surprised in this article to read that a lot of utilitarians, though they believe that that it's your main goal is to eliminate unnecessary suffering, but a lot of utilitarians hold a view that it is not only do you have to consider the unnecessary suffering of the animal, but you have to weigh it against the suffering of the other party, in this case, humans. Yes. So I'll just read real quick from this article. It says, importantly, the utilitarian argument for moral significance of animal suffering in meat production is not an argument for vegetarianism. If an animal lived a happy life and was painlessly killed and then eaten by people who would otherwise suffer hunger or malnourishment by not eating the animal, then painlessly killing and eating the animal would be morally justified thing to do. Would you agree with that?
Sure. I think there are two aspects which I think are important. First of all, I totally agree with the thought that if a human being is malnourished when he does, like, go vegan, for example, and so he is relieving some animals from suffering, but he does it for himself, then he has a valid reason not to do it, I think. But the other aspect is I'm not sure if it was in that article, but some people might say that consider that people are just happy, for example, to eat meat because they like the taste or because they're used to it, and they just don't want to go into all the trouble of becoming vegan, and that would make them suffer, and that maybe they will not be malnourished or sick because of it, but they just don't want it, so they are going to be less happy to go vegan. That is another thing to say, right? And you can say that. Well, with that, with the first argument, I tend to agree. With the second, I'd say I disagree.
Yeah, the article doesn't go into it. It
Yeah, all right.
just it implies it by stating that, by not stating it, just because oh, I don't want to because I like the taste of meat isn't a really valid argument, morally speaking. Well, again, it depends on if you like. I believe it's called Kensington way of thinking about morals, that animals are things, so they aren't morally significant. That's just one way of looking at it. But yeah, because the reason why I'm actually glad to see this is because there have been, like in parts of India, where the diet is mainly a vegan or a vegetarian diet, or mainly a vegan diet, that there has been signs of malnourishment in children and growth stunting, and just adding milk to their diet or a little bit of meat improves their overall health outcome significantly, mainly because of the quality of the vegan diet that is
Sure.
available to them. Whereas I would argue anyone in the West has access to a quality vegan diet and really has no need for meat.
Yeah, I totally agree. And of course, I also agree that in the case that people don't have access to a fully healthy ration, they do have easy access to milk, for example, which can um, be beneficial for their health. They should totally go for it until they get access to all the plant-based food which they need. So yeah, but all those topics concerning morality are very interesting in themselves, and all these things could be discussed way deeper, and it can take just hours, and I'm all for it, but probably not today.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I had. If you're interested, I could send you the article. It may give you some arguing points that you haven't thought of.
Sure, please
I
do.
welcome you to post it in the text.
Yes, please do.
Well, we're at about an hour. Thank you all for this. I really appreciate you coming. Rom, thank you for being our guest and such a good interlocutor and interrogator. Such good stuff. Here are a few channels that I am really fond of. I'm probably going to add about 8 more to this list this week. If you really want to get into street epistemology, here is a great place for resources. It's put up by Street Epistemology International, and it is streetepistemology.com. Lots of good resources put together by the overall community. Thank you all for coming.
Yeah.
If you would like to be a guest on my show doing any of the 8 categories that I describe in the introductory videos, I look forward to hearing from you.
I just wanted to say thank you, Dali, for